we're starting our panel discussion. And I'm going to ask you guys to start from the brief introduction of yourself, because I know pretty much all of these people, but since the industry is constantly shifting, changing, people changing positions, what they do, so let's start from the brief introduction. Aleksandr.
Hello. My name is Aleksandr Zezulin. I've been working in game development for about 20 years, 10 of which I've spent working for Wargaming, and we've been colleagues there. I used to work in design, management, producing, but mostly in the development part of games. I briefly touched crypto, and now spending my time consulting startups.
Hi, my name is Murad Musakaev. I've been in game development just 6 years, so not as long as you. I've been a lawyer before, then I became a project manager producer, and now I'm a head of studio of Tactile here in Cyprus.
Hi, my name is Ivan. I'm CEO at Das Games. I'll be presenting instead of Sergey today. Unfortunately, he didn't make it to Cyprus. I'm working in game dev since I was 13 years old, and Das Game is my second studio. We're doing hybrid casual games.
Hey everyone, my name is Milica. I'm a global senior brand strategist at Outfit 7. Heavy-handedly working with Talking Tom and Friends IP, which is probably the biggest success that Outfit 7 is doing and keeps on doing. And apart from that, for the ones that is not very familiar with Outfit 7, aside from Talking Tom and Friends IP, there are other R&D pipeline products, different genres and mechanics across the gaming sector.
Everybody, hi. My name is Evgenia Kazakova. I'm from Perfluence. It is a platform which helps brands and bloggers to find each other and to make a effective campaign. And we are working in whole world. We have a local offices in India and Mexico, and that's why I'm here.
Yeah, thank you guys. So the first question on the table is basically, how do you see culture fit in your companies, and how does culture fit or maybe its absence affect your teams? Aleksandr? Yeah.
All right, in my company of one person. So I would say the thing with culture fit is separated in actually several big topics. It could be a culture fit related to the national geographical position of a company, which is affecting us from the perspective that we are working remotely, we are working in distributed teams across the globe. For example, the last company I was working for as a hired manager, we had people in Vietnam, Latin America in 2 countries, very different between each other. We had people in Europe, and we had people in the United States, Israel, and so on. And it was a quite small team, like of 50 people. And those people from different backgrounds, they had different cultures in their countries and different business cultures. On top of the fact that the company was new and we had no time to establish our own company culture. So business fit was mostly coming, this cultural business fit was mostly coming from the person of a company leader, and in general from the company leadership, and that's what I'm going to talk about today.
Okay.
Probably a lot.
Okay.
Yeah, I just wanted to take a second to appreciate how panel is like a warm-up for the speakers and for the technical part. Everything goes wrong. So for us, culture fit is Tactile is a company of 300 plus people, and we have 55 different nationalities in the company to this moment. And I think this is the most diverse company I ever worked for, and probably the most diverse I know. And it actually adds a lot to the products that we are making. So we're making the casual puzzle games, And you can see how people from different cultures bring their own vision, like their own view of different aspects of the production, like from the perspective of their culture, of their previous experience, of the background. And whenever you build a team that is full of like developers, artists, writers who come from different nationalities and different cultures, you kind of embrace the diversity of those cultures, and it adds a lot to the final product, because you can see the taste of different cultures in whatever you produce. For instance, in our top game, Lily's Garden, we have different stories that change like every maybe 4 or 5 months. They change a location, and because like our team is coming from different backgrounds, we change the location depending on the location where some of the team members are from. And it helps a lot to add some like small like touches of the culture of that place, like South Africa, Latin America, like maybe Northern Europe, and then the final product becomes more interesting and helps you to stand out from what your competitors do. And I guess that's one of the like biggest assets that we have in the company right now. And then on the other side, it's very interesting to work in such an environment where people are coming from different cultures, because then you always have something new to discover every day just by speaking to your colleagues. And working like in the office becomes an experience by itself. And then there is a different layer of culture, which is the company culture, because whoever joins the team should not just bring something from their background, but also add something to whatever you are building as a team, like as a whole company. And that's why, for instance, in Tactile, we care about culture. We have like our own culture book that we like published recently. So whoever joins the company, they need to like read through that culture book, and then we make sure that whoever is hired can be this culture fit to our company culture.
Yeah, thank you.
Well, for me personally, cultural fit is more like a set of soft skills which employees should have to fit in the team. And this is it.
Hello? Oh, okay, it was working. I think at Outfit we're very passionate about this topic. There is maybe something that we have a little bit of an opinion on the name of what culture fit is. And I think, Murad, you just mentioned it a little bit, because it's basically adding on to what that foundation of that company is. Because it's a living organism, right? Companies are made out of people, and each one of us walk in with something that we bring from our background of how we are. But for example, in Outfit, there are certain hygiene factors that are almost like non-negotiable for us. And we managed to pack them up in a set of principles. And we have kind of the basic principle, and we call it "This is us." And this is that non-negotiable one: how we want our environment to be, how we want our environment to feel, and how we want our people to behave without restricting or limiting the uniqueness of each one of them. And honestly, this is us, the beginning, right? It's only the beginning, because if you stop at the beginning and you don't have like the guidelines how you're going to live this culture, it can be put down to misinterpretation, right? So we have a set of 7 principles that are explaining, you know, what do we incentivize, what do we appreciate, what do we value, what do we want to push forward, what are we not, because oftentimes we don't speak about who we are not. And it affects everything that we do. So assembling teams, hiring process, people development, offboarding, and everything in between. So that's why I say, I think we managed to build also reputation in the industry with like putting so much effort in trying to make a working environment in the way that we believe it should be, but also that whoever is with us is aligned with that, because at the end of the day, it can just block any progress sooner or later. So that's kind of it.
I would like to say that I agree with all of speakers, and I would like to say that it's very important from employees to make match between the teams. And for example, we changed the business schedule to make match between the teams when they have some vacations or holidays or religion holidays, because it's very important to people, and we try to make and to celebrate these holidays together because it helps to make sense between the teams and to understand what of culture code they have, and it helps people to understand each other better.
All right, thank you. So for this panel, they actually made me to make a list of prearranged questions, which you'll get on email. But I've been known for years as a person who are asking like uncomfortable questions right on stage without preparation. So here I am going off script. This question, the next question, wasn't on the prearranged list, and still it goes. So in your personal opinion, when we're speaking about culture fit for a company and fitting the person in the culture fit of the company, should it be a common denominator, regardless which it is, right? Should it be a common denominator, or it should be as diverse as possible? And why? Since it's an off-script question, you can answer like whenever you're ready.
Yeah, I think it should be like more or less, how do you say this, common
denominator.
Denominator, yeah. Because when you like assembling a team, the cultural fit should be looked like a way to speed up a communication in a team, to avoid toxicity in a team. That's actually why you need it to make sure all your employees are speaking the same language. So I believe it should be common. What again?
Denominator.
Common denominator, yeah. But you should be avoiding like too homogeneous environment. So just like a bit of diversity, but common denominator. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else?
Yes, I can confirm that this question was not in the list before we prepared for the panel, so good job. And like for me, it's like you can compare it to if we talk like producer language, like when we talk about the methodologies, like there are some methodologies that are already defined, but you cannot apply them like everywhere as a silver bullet. Like there is no silver bullet for every team. So in the big company, I think there should be like a baseline of the culture that you establish, but then still in different teams, you need like your own internal like rituals, your own internal, I don't know, approach to make sure that it fits that team as well. So the baseline exists so the teams can communicate between each other and then the company maintain like this consistency, but then still you need to be, first of all, transparent about what that baseline is for your company, and then inside every team, because again, we are coming from different backgrounds, I think it's acceptable to have some like steps away from this like main trunk of your culture, depending on the team. I'm not talking about like something big like, okay, this team works completely remotely, this team works like completely on-site, despite the fact that, for instance, we have teams doing that. Because like Danish team, for instance, it's completely on-site. The teams in Argentina, they're completely online, sorry. But still, I'm talking about more like minor things that will just apply to, for instance, different territories. Like the team in Cyprus probably will be working like in a different like pace or with a different features that the team in, I mean, by features I mean not like the production features, but like the features of the team, like the assets of the team, than comparing the team in Denmark, just because like it's a different territory, probably different culture of like the environment. So I think that it is.
Thank you.
For us, for example, well, I just a little bit explained just now that we do have a common denominator, which is that one, this is us, right? But I also have to say that there has been a change in formulation of the behaviors, and I'll tell you why. Before, we were 100% everyone in the office, right? So you come, you see the face, you see the facial expressions and the body posture and whatnot. And then Corona hit, and the values that we had in the past actually took a different spin to what they were originally meant to be. and they lost a little bit of that softness that originally we did create them with. So I think here what is really, really important is to understand how you plan to operate your company. For example, for us, even though we are international, we have teams across the world, we are office first for the reasons of how passionate we are about that culture. So then, but that doesn't mean that the ones that are on Zoom or digital, they're less important. So those principles of behaving, they need to fit both, right? And they need to be clear enough for both teams so we know how to move things forward. So yes, common denominator, it's a starting point, no matter if you have two people in the company or 400 or 2,000. But then just to be agile enough and understand how is your working style, not to forget, all the people that are freelancers, contractors, Zoom, physical and whatnot.
I'm totally agree with Melissa, and I would like to say that hiring is very important, because if you try to find people who think like a business partner, like not just a worker, like an entrepreneur, you will have a very good team which will solve all of the problem, which will have a conversation and to solve all of the negotiations, and it is the best way to increase your business.
So, in my opinion, I would say if you have an established business, especially if you have a big team, you need scriptures, you need a set of rules, you need to be strict to some extent. But when you are small, especially if you are just starting a company, I got to say that the culture is a natural part of human society, of human interaction. So you can embrace the chaos, again, to a certain extent. You can embrace the chaos, you can allow people to interact as they like in the beginning, because you probably have founder, you probably have leaders, they have some kind of a culture, they will translate it to the whole team, and eventually something will grow. Then you need to be mindful about what is growing, but you can allow a lot of things when you are small and young.
Thank you. So the next question is, sound like this. Should your culture fit be a priority in hiring and team assembly process? And by that, I mean, should we look on the first, will this person fit culturally? And second, on his hard skills? Or we looking for hard skills and then we say, okay, there's more of us than him, so we will install this culture in him. What should be a priority?
That's a great question. If you allow me to continue, I think we are looking too much on skills.
Okay.
Both hard and soft. We are looking too much on soft skills as well, because culture fit is not about soft skills. Skills could be developed. Okay, some skills take time to develop, but they could be developed. Behaviors and chemistry between people is a thing that you can assess in a moment of time. You don't need to assess it over lots of tests and interviews and so on. It's either exists or not. And this is one of the best mechanisms inserted in us as human beings to assess if you can interact with this person or not. You have a chemistry. You like him or not. If you don't like him, probably you shouldn't continue. And this is this easy. So yes, I think cultural questions, scriptures and description of what's written in your codex, and assessment from the perspective of chemistry and casual interactions should be way more important than, I don't know, how good and how fast you're writing a code. It shouldn't affect salary, however. I mean, a good person is not a profession. You cannot get a grade in being a good person.
True. Evgenia?
I disagree. Sorry, because I think that you can learn anything. Internet is open and you can find all information and to improve your skills. But if you can't communicate, and it's very difficult to improve this skill. That's why I think that the personality at the first playing.
I think, well, it depends what level
You
of...
caught in between. You realize it, right? We have two very polar opinions.
I think it depends. First, it depends what seniority you're hiring, right? So if you're hiring an expert, you cannot just teach that, in onboarding process. Like, you need to know what you're doing. If you're hiring a junior, that is already pre-requirement is no experience needed. Well, then you're set for different path. And you're hiring to fix a business need, right? You have a problem, you need someone who's going to do that. I can tell you with us, we have many rounds of interviews. It's quite, it can feel very overwhelming. But I can tell you that only one step of those rounds is the expertise test. Obviously, if you fail the expertise test and you're hired to be an expert in whatever, well, you're not going to pass no matter your personality. But there is so much effort put into trying to understand you as a human being, as a professional, as what you can bring onto the table aside from the expertise that you're there to do. That for us, let's say I'm a hiring manager as well. I had a candidate. It was a position that was kind of niche. You could not. It was not just like plug and play. You can find it anywhere. It was like a little bit in between. And we found the person, plug-and-play person, ready to relocate, expertise test done, no? But when it went from round to round, from the hiring manager and HR and speaking with the team and the senior level, it just didn't go through. It didn't go through. So we said, okay, we're putting this on the side. Obviously, it's also prioritization of that business need, no? But for us, business skill set and the cultural add-on, I can easily say that it's equally important. Obviously, you need to evaluate in between, but yeah. How you have it?
Well, for me, as I told, cultural fit is just certain set of soft skills. So yeah, it should be treated equally because you should both look at hard skills and soft skills when hiring somebody. It's obvious. But for making sure that the person just fits in your team, you can just easily check for red flags in his, behavior. For example, if you're hiring a developer from Western Europe and they don't have Telegram account, it's just simply not our guy. So we just follow the simple principle, orgs to orgs, else to else, and this is it.
Well, not having Telegram account sounds like a thing you can easily fix. It doesn't sound like a cultural misfit, but I would agree with Milica. It's not a straightforward question. It really depends on what you need right now, and I'm really surprised that we have opinions either yes or no. I didn't expect that. For instance, right now we are hiring Unity developers, and yes, if you're looking for a junior developer, then you probably expect that there will be senior people teaching the hard skills. So you mostly will be looking at the soft skills and culture fit. If you're hiring for a more senior role, then sometimes your start with skills is just the final of hiring. You first look at the skill set, the years of experience, whatever stacks they're working with, and then you continue your interview process with checking if they are a culture fit. But for instance, if you're looking for some very senior role, right now I'm interviewing for a lead developer in my team, and it really doesn't matter if you have decades of experience if you're not a culture fit, because that person would be leading a team and helping me to nurture the same culture we try to establish in other teams. And if the person is a misfit, culturally, then of course everything will go wrong. But even if you end up hiring a person who is not a culture fit, maybe you miss some red flags during the interview process, I think it's never too late. First of all, there are some things that can be just adjusted as you go, because sometimes people accept feedback and they just listen to it, and people change, despite the popular opinion that they don't. And sometimes it's just like, that's why we have the trial periods. I mean, it sounds harsh, but that's what it is. And if you see that the person is not a fit, then you should again talk about that and be open about it, and then just separate your ways.
Thank you. So the next question is, it's on the list, but I'm gonna like a little rephrase it, right? So what is your, in your experience, in your personal experience, I'm not talking about your current company, but the whole of your experience, right? So without saying names or without like breaking the NDA, if you can share, please share the most problematic, the most maybe traumatizing, the most maybe embarrassing moment regarding to culture fit in your hiring, or you hired someone. Please share like the most problematic moment in your career.
I can do that.
Who's gonna start?
Yeah, I can start.
Okay.
Just as we were talking about skills and culture misfit, so we recently, like maybe some months ago, I actually would be surprised if you say, yeah, tell me the names, tell me the positions. We hired a person who was who had a great set of hard skills in terms of knowledge of the industry, in terms of like how that person worked. So we thought, okay, this will be a great addition to our team. We should try, and we had some positive recommendations. So we actually maybe sped up the process a little bit, and then the person started, and like easily after like first week and a half, you can already see that it's not the perfect fit to our culture, like in terms of how you handle the meetings, in terms of how you handle the communication with people during lunch. And like probably the last drop was when the person went to a meeting with one of our female team members, and she was wearing like shorts, and he was like sitting in the meeting looking at the legs all the time. We were like, whoa, no, this is like going wrong ways, so we should just stop here. And the person didn't accept it like feedback. He was like, what's wrong with that? I mean, come on. So we decided to move forward with other candidates.
That's unfit. I agree.
That was embarrassing.
I can think of few. So I lived and work in Asia. Now I'm in Europe, also in Central America. And in Asia, you know, people are very conservative in the way how they behave professionally, right? So CVs are usually written with a certain tone of voice, and you know that it comes across almost like a kosher and stuff. And I call in a candidate for an interview. Apparently this person had the skills and the experience and whatnot, and she walked in. She had no idea where she was. She had no idea what we were doing. Like with the level of curiosity of a toddler trying to learn on spot. So that was in a way cute. She lied about her age and whatnot. But that was like a cute one or like a funny one. Here, not long ago, we had more of a disturbing, where a candidate was applying for a position, you know, the motivational letter or whatever, how it was. And then the very same day, right? So application happened the very same day. We did not reply yet to that application on that very same day. And we received a nasty email, like, WTF, what's going on? So you know, then you read that, and then you go back to the CV, and you read again the profile of the person, and it goes, very high people skills person, you know. Like, so like, okay, we should actually talk to you, man.
Actually, for me, it's difficult to explain, but I will try. It's about misunderstanding in text message when people write or just ask to do something, but people try to find something else, some thoughts, and it's very difficult when people talk just in online because they cannot understand each other, and in the end, people have they said because they decide that somebody tried to hit them, but it's not true.
Yeah, so in my experience, I was looking, it was not long ago, I was looking for a project manager for a team of developers in Western Europe, like old European guys. And I found this beautiful, beautiful candidate, the guy from United States, who is of Indian origin. He was studying in Full Sail. You remember Sean Stafford from... So he was actually working with Sean Stafford, with Professor we both know. He was the warmest guy on earth, like the very people person you can imagine. And that was the first time I saw my programmers scared at the interview, because he was so social, he was so open and optimistic. They were like, whoa, 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 no, nowhere on earth we are going to interact with this person professionally, because he's so nice, we just can't talk to him. So we ended up hiring a German guy, of course. But I still miss talking to this one, because I would love to work with him. He was so better than everyone else in the room in just communication, talking, helping, supporting, like what the manager should be.
Well, I have a couple of stories, but they're way too, cool stories, so I'd better tell them off stage. But what's interesting? All these like strange guys, they all passed the initial interview, they all passed HR, they all passed me. So I really believe you can only tell that the person fits in your team in like 1 or 2 months after starting working with him. Because like my cool stories are about hiring transgender person, like hiring a guy who did some hard drugs and jumped out of the roof and stuff like this. But they all passed the initial interview. So give some time to make sure that the new employee fits culturally in your team before betting hard on him.
All right. So, since we have time, sorry, yeah. Since we have time, here's the next question, not on the list. So, every culture is forming a counterculture. It always exists, and you cannot deny it, right? But what you do if you see your counterculture is actually starting to rise to becoming, I would say, equal to your original culture. Like, what's your point of view? What's your gonna do? What's your course of action?
Well, I think it's a good time to admit your mistakes and say that you don't have a culture. You have...
Can you put up your mic a bit?
Hello.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's a good moment to admit your mistakes and say that, okay, then probably you don't have your official culture. Because as I said, the culture is a natural thing. If it's either growing and thriving, or you are trying to forcibly establish it, and this probably means that your leadership do not practice what they preach. Probably someone else is leading by example. This someone else should be a leader. Unless this culture is counterproductive, okay? If this culture is destroying your company, then, okay, mistakes are made in a different place. But if this is a productive culture, if people are feeling good and working good because of this counter something, then I mean, it's probably time to establish this as your official scripture and go on with whatever you have. Like
New Testament, basically.
New Testament, whatever, new prophets, probably a couple of crusades, and then you are good.
Thank you. Any other opinions?
I think what we would do in this case is start with how were we part of the problem that this problem happened, right? So for me, or for us, it would be thinking, do we have a prevention plan, and what that prevention plan is in case we don't have it? If we have it, why it's not working? Where is that kind of loose block in the entire system? And now next question is, now you have that, right? You have a problem. Now what do you do with it? Are you going to just let it sink the entire boat, or you're going to act responsibly and make some difficult decisions? But I think companies or teams should put more effort into the prevention plan. It often happens when people reach a certain level of lifetime in the company, right? So you start taking it for granted, and you start driving your own vehicle over there because, hey, I'm here for whatever X amount of years, and I can do whatever I want. So just to keep in track with HR managers, let's say with us, we have regular HR partnering. We have one-on-one with managers. We have performance review feedbacks. We have self-initiated feedbacks. So all these things, there are little things that are helping you decode if there is a problem. Of course, it's gonna run through here and there, but at least you have it a little bit more tight so that you can control it as much as you can. But yeah, act responsibly and timely. If you realize that this is not the way you want to live your company.
Yeah, it's, as I like to say, don't be a part of the problem, be a whole problem.
like take the ownership and take
Yes.
the responsibility
Yes.
and now try to fix it. And now there are many ways how you can fix it, right? It depends on what you're going to do with that. But take ownership. It's no one else's fault. It originates from the inside to the out. Because if you allow that, it's not their problem, it's your problem.
Yep.
We're talking about cultural fit, but I think that every company have their own cultural fit. It is a mix with rules and specifics, and if you build it correctly, you will never have this problem because people in the company work with the rules, with a match, with a with the rules which you built in your company.
But you're still going to have a counterculture.
Sorry?
You're still going to have a counterculture.
Yes, but
It exists like anyway.
yes, but if you try to mix it in the best speciality, I mean that you respect for all of them and you help to everybody to feel good in the company, in the rules which can be different for everybody, for every culture fit. I mean, it will be the best way, in my opinion, which help you to make people build the best team and to work together without any problems.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Yeah, sure. Well, for me, it's kind of hard to define what is counterculture in a team. I just imagine in myself, like, this Telegram chat without this strange guy, and I mean, without me. Just my team have like smoking room Telegram chat, something like this. But you can't control all the communications in your team. You don't have to, actually. But you should look at it some points, some performance reviews for each team member. And you should look at the global speed of communication in your team, how the people perform and stuff like this. And if you're happy with how people work, if you receiving the results, if you getting products shipped with certain quality and adequate dates, you don't actually have to control everybody and kill all the counterculture in your company.
Thank you.
Yeah, I agree with the most what was already said, so I won't repeat it. I just want to say that if there is a counterculture that you couldn't identify through all the countermeasures like reviews, etc., then first of all you need to again openly address it, to explain why this might be hurting our processes, our product, whatever. And then, like, if there's like some kind of alliance, like of riot makers, then you can just split it like by moving them to different teams. Because in our company, for instance, it's a usual practice to move people from one team to another depending on the needs, where we need to empower the team.
So divide and conquer.
Yeah, something like that.
Okay.
So like if you played 4X strategies, so that's basically what you do there. But I mean, it works. And again, like all those countermeasures, like when you talk with people and make sure that you nurture that culture, not just like let them be, and then the counterculture arises, then again, this is your responsibility to make sure that they go through all these steps.
All right, thank you. And we have a last script question. So what is your like personal tips and tricks? Oh, sorry. What is your personal tips and tricks to make sure you have a proper culture fit and like proper? And how do you make sure that this person will fit or not? What's your personal experience?
Oh, well, speaking shortly, like, as I said before, practice what we preach, be an example, and lead the culture by example, not by scriptures, first of all. I would say rely on chemistry a lot, and trust yourself in picking people, and that's what helped me all the way down.
So a gut feeling culture, basically.
Heart feeding.
Heart feeding.
It's about love, and you should be loving people around you. Otherwise, it's all empty. It's all for nothing.
Fair enough.
Yeah. So I already mentioned it several times. So first of all, it's transparency about what your culture is. So whenever a person joins your company, you like need to be as vocal as possible about that, so they will be aware of where they are going and what you expect from them, so there won't be any like wrong expectations from any of the sides. And like that's where all these additional sources come, like our own culture book. Like we recommend people to read some like third-party books, like Culture Map, Hiring for Attitude, like those kind of things. And then the second thing, like as someone said, we should make sure that people spend some time in the real environment. Like you can go through whatever tasks and whatever questions in the interview, but then in the end, you still will have to like see how they will act in the real working environment. And then after some time, you can give some feedback, so you can adjust behavior if it's not a culture fit, and then address it like later if the feedback is not taken.
It's less about cultural fit, more like general HR advice. Never allow people that you didn't hire by yourself hire another people. This applies to all like small to medium-sized companies. You should be either like hiring by yourself, or at least like looking at the candidate, or have somebody that you hired previously by yourself to look at the new person in the team.
I think I would go even one step before, and that is really aligning on what you want, what you as a company, what you want. Many times what we rush into an idea and we don't think what does that mean in practice and what does that mean in reality, and can we live it and can we transfer it. So first align on that, like who do you want to be in your core and in your essence. So that's step number one. Then I would say the hiring process, like instill it through the hiring process. Make sure that, as all of you have mentioned so far, that you have all the tools to identify the let's say the strengths that you're looking for. But then the job actually starts. How to keep the culture that you think you want, that you have instilled into the new people that have come on board. And obviously this depends a lot. Are you a small studio? Are you a bigger company? If you, I don't know, have 3 people, you're not going to have, I don't know, internal comms team dedicated. You know, you're going to have your weekly sessions or whatever. So really live it every day, whatever that is. We use Slack a lot, for example. You can, in a very kind of casual way, you can send the messages and keep people tight, and just repeat the big idea. And really, repetition is the mother of knowledge, and it's really true. No matter if you're newly or you're there for many years. So just keep it on track and make sure that it's not weaponized, as we just said. You know, the subculture and stuff, and the prevention plan, obviously.
Big idea, mission, and motivation to build something else, something good to change people's lives. I think that if somebody has the motivation to change their lives and the world, it's the best point to choose these people.
Thank you. Actually, this is the one question I think I will add something from my standpoint. And if you are, in my opinion, if you are looking like, will this person fit and will it's not, I would say it's not about what this person tells about himself, but for me, it's always about what question does this person raise. Because in questions, you can see a level of problematic, the problems he'd like to address. And by addressing this problem, you can see, will it fit to your culture? And it's actually a great indicator. So we have a couple more minutes for questions from audience. If you have some, guys, feel free. Yep.
Thank you for the warm discussion. Very interesting. I have a question. It's quite common when during the company evolution and growth, the culture can change also. And there can be employees, especially core team employees, who can catch this evolution of the culture and can find themselves missing out aboard the new culture state. What do you think, have you ever faced such issues, and what do you think is the best way to deal with such cases, and especially to prevent such cases?
Okay. I'm going to start answering this. So the question was, correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm going to repeat it. So the question was, when you start a small company, you have this core team, but then as company evolves, the culture of the company changes, and sometimes these core team members start to feeling left out. Right? Right. So what do you do about this, and how do you prevent it, was the question. And my answer here is, it shouldn't be prevented. Sometimes the company changes. Sometimes the culture changes. And it is okay for some people to be left behind, with all respect and all the gratitude. But that's why, for example, a lot of startup founders at a certain point hire a CEO. Because the company changed, and the process changed, and the culture changed. But feel free to share your own opinions.
Yeah, I totally agree. As long as it's about growth and not decay, as long as the company is becoming better, the business is becoming better, it's okay. I mean, kids, they outgrow their families. And companies are outgrowing their founders and even like founding fathers. At some point, it's okay to just stay behind. Why not?
And to add to that, like if this is like your baby, your business, then it's up to you to decide if you want to like adjust to whatever the company is now, or you want to like step out. Because I mean, in the end, it's business, and if you want to shape the company to what you, like your culture is, you are, then it might hurt that business. It might hurt something that is already established and working, and just by like fulfilling your own demands, you will break it. And this will affect people, this will affect your product, and maybe like you need to consider that several times before doing something about it, because maybe you should just accept it and like try yourself in some new role.
totally agree with the guys. Like nothing to add.
Actually, I don't have much to add. I agree pretty much. I mean, it's okay. It's okay to outgrow it. It's life. So you either keep on the same path with the rest or not. And yeah.
And if you have a process and rules for everybody, you can manage the situation and your business.
Okay. Yeah, thank you.
Right.
We had another question from the audience. No?
Can you raise your hand? Oh, yeah.
Hi, Jakub from Cubic Games. We are currently in very fast grow up, and we have that situation that everything's going good, but we have few division. They are separate company or internal division, and they have different culture model. And we have now problem how to merge that, because we grow up from 10, 20 people to 200 next year. And in some way, everything's going good, and I don't want to touch this in some moment. But I see that one company working completely different than second one. They are door to door, and they also see that culture model is different in these things. Do you have some recommendation how to change that?
Could you tell me if your people are working in the offices or in different locations?
80% in offices.
That's the case. So
Yeah.
several regions, several locations, different offices.
No, most people working in one place under different management.
So
we are a group of companies, but every company have different culture, but we working on similar projects.
Shuffle the people then, just between departments. Start shuffling.
We tried
people
this
from
and
department
it's
to
not
department.
working. Because we have very good effects now. But one team is very senior teams and they want to work different way, and one team is junior mid-core people and they prefer sitting longer, for example. We also divide them how they prefer to work.
Is it somehow hurting your work? Is it like affecting in a bad way or not? These
In
differences.
reality, not. But we know that in some moment we need to make
Why?
similar.
Why?
I'm not sure, but
Then wait until it's going to become like something for you, something feasible, because just forcing similarities in the culture, establishing it from top to bottom, just because, well, at some point you might need it, it's going to break what you already have. Just let it be, whatever you have. If it's productive, allow people to be what they are, and observe. At some point you will see that there is a need of something similar, something that will connect people and say, okay, now we are working by the same rules, we are working equally somehow, but this should be demand from the bottom, not from top, because from top it's usually a nonsense.
okay, thanks.